Hello and welcome. I'm Paul Norell and I'd like to present a playthrough of the first turn of the Battle of Blenheim, a game designed by Steve Pohl and published by Legion Wargames. Now this video is not a review as such, nor will it attempt to present ideal strategies or anything like that. It's simply a walkthrough of the turn to showcase the various mechanics that make this game both realistic as a simulation and eminently playable. Though the mechanics are simple, this is not to say that the game is simple by any means. There are a lot of decisions to make, and the strategic nuances make this one of my favourite games in the short time that I've had it. If you want to know my overall impressions, I have posted a text review of the game on the BGG website. Now let's begin straight away by looking at the setup. The Allied army in brown, which represents the members of the Grand Alliance against Louis XIV, is deployed to the north. The Franco-Bavarian army is to the south. Both armies are separated by the Nebelbach, a stream tributary of the Danube, as well as an area of marshy ground which in some places is impassable. Now to win, a side has to occupy two of the three villages, Lutzingen on the left, Oberglauheim in the centre, and Blenheim on the right, as well as destroy at least 12 of the enemy's infantry and or cavalry units. As the French begin by occupying all these villages, you can appreciate that the onus is on the Allies to wrest control of these, and therefore the burden of attack will fall on them. Now, this situation also makes the game suitable for solitaire play, as the player can take the offensive role against a fairly static defence, although, as will be seen, the French do not have to sit on the defensive if they choose to be more aggressive. Now, the turn is divided into 4 phases, which can either be played by one side to completion before the other side does the same, or using the optional variant as I am here, alternating each phase, which I think makes for a more interesting and interactive game. Now, strategic movement is a crucial part of the game as it allows units to take advantage of rapid movement to key sections of the battlefields. However, the following conditions apply. Number 1, the unit begins within the command radius of a general. Now this is the area the general occupies and the 6 surrounding areas. 2, a unit may enter a hex adjacent to an enemy, but can only leave it if another friendly unit already occupies the hex and has not and will not make a strategic move of its own. And thirdly, the unit must begin the phase in the center hex of the area. Now we've randomly determined the Allies will go first, so we'll begin by looking at the Duke of Marlborough. And we can see that there are 5 areas that are eligible for strategic movement: the area Marlborough occupies, and the 4 surrounding areas. Marlborough decides to move units to occupy Unterglauheim and advance towards the enemy positions. But note 2 things. Firstly, marshy areas with 4 M symbols can only be entered by 1 cavalry or infantry unit, and 2, hexes with an M symbol in them cannot themselves be entered. Now each of the units has made a legal strategic move. Infantry can move 2 areas, if not using roads, and cavalry 4 areas. Note that commanders do not move during this phase. Note also that Marlborough could also have moved the artillery from the unit from the outer to the centre hex of its area, but had he done so, the artillery would not be eligible to fire during the ranged fire phase. Also note that artillery cannot use strategic movement to go to another area. Now if we look at Prince Eugene's position, commanding the Imperial forces on the Allied right, he too moves units across the Nebelbach, ensuring that none cross hexes with an M icon. If necessary, in the case of cavalry, which can move 4 areas, they would take a circuitous route. The Franco-Bavarians now, and Max Emanuel, Elector of Bavaria, decides to make a forward defence, moving some of his units to face the Imperialists. In the centre, Marsin also moves units forward to strengthen the defences of Oberglauheim, and on the right, Tallard does likewise to defend the Nebelbach stream. Let's look at ranged fire now. Now in this phase, artillery units deployed on the outer hexes of an area may range fire. This is a straightforward process whereby, depending on the calibre of the guns, they can fire up to 2, 3 or 4 areas away. And you're not required to fire at the closest target, but obviously it makes sense to do so as you have more chance of hitting. 2d6 are rolled, requiring an 8 if adjacent, 9 if 2 areas distant, 10 if 3, and 11 if 4 areas away. There's also a -2 modifier if firing into a village or woods area. Each hit disrupts an enemy unit, and I will discuss disrupted units in a later presentation. Well, in this example of firing, it only produced 1 hit. Obviously the gunners are taking a while to find their range. The priority for hits is infantry first, then cavalry, so the infantry unit is flipped over to show its disrupted side. Well, that concludes the first part of this presentation. I hope you have enjoyed it and that it's prompted you to think about getting the game. I shall deal with tactical moves, orders, combat and morale in the next section. So until then, bye for now, and thanks for watching.